Hi everybody, I'm back with another JavaScript project. Now in this project we will be learning how exactly to place reviews for a business. Now you can clearly see from the browser I've got the following heading: comments from our clients, and then I've got a small statement of little bit smaller in dimension to the one I placed, and it says read what our clients got to say. And then I've got the literal statement from the client, or I would say this particular person who has experienced the services, right? So the statement says, glad that I joined the course on JavaScript, got a job as a full stack developer. So this is the photograph of the client, of the person who has performed, or I should say who has pursued the course, and the name of the individual, Lisa James, and the position, web developer. Now if the person or the prospective client who is viewing the website of your business, if he or she wants to click next, when they click next, it will display the next person's testimonial, or I would say their feedback. So in this case it states got a 6-figure offer all because I knew JavaScript, thanks. And the individual name is Cindy Lee, front-end developer. And when you click next, again this is another person's picture, and this person states that learned all that I needed to know on RDBMS. Catherine Price, database manager. You can click next. Now if there is a presence of an image, then it will display next image. If not, it will go back again to the first person's image. So clearly you can see, that's the beauty of it. So if you have gone using the next to the next person and you want to come back to the previous person, you can click on this previous button and it will bring you back to the previous person's profile. So this is a beautiful project which allows us to present reviews. So without any further delay, let us get our VS Code started. So foremost, what we need to do is we need to start off with a new file. So we got a nice page, and what we can do is we can start with a file, and I'm going to add a folder. It is asking if you want to add a folder, so I'm exactly going to be using this particular feature that VS Code provides. So I will go to the file and I will say add a folder to the workspace, and then a dialog box pops up, and then this is the folder that I will be using. So I want to add this folder. So I have just added, and upon adding you will get the information displayed. So you get that the folder is added, and what we can do is we can click on it and we can create the index page. The index.html is created, and then go back to the parent folder and then add another folder called CSS. Click on it, and we will have to create a file inside CSS. So that's going to be style.css, and then go back to the parent folder again. Now you need to create one more folder for JavaScript. So we cannot, since the JavaScript file is a little bit huge, we have to individually create the JavaScript file. So I want to have a folder, so I'm creating JS. Inside JS I want to create a JavaScript file called as app.js. So these are the procedures that you need to follow before you launch the project. So the folder is created. Inside the folder I've created the index file and other folder CSS and JS. Inside CSS I've created style.css. Inside JS I've created app.js. So let's go to index file and let's place the exclamatory mark. Now you can clearly see that when I started, I have shown you the review page, right? This was the page that I showed you. Now this particular project has got 3 components. One is the basic HTML design, and the next one is the CSS page. See, clearly we need to have CSS, otherwise we wouldn't be able to get such beautiful display. So you will have to also perform the CSS. since this is a set, complete project set, I would be also showing you CSS. So that would mean the project would become a little bit lengthier. So have some patience and follow along. So let's go to the title. In the title, I'm going to change the name as customer reviews. Customer reviews, and then I will add the CSS. Link rel is equal to style sheet. Type is equal to text/CSS, and then give the href. Okay, so that's fine. We will link the JavaScript later on in the later part of the body. I don't want to present the JavaScript link here because the moment I place in the JavaScript linking file, the page would not get displayed. The browser would hold until the JavaScript is actually loaded onto the browser, and then the parsing has started on, and then it's completed. That would mean your customers will not be able to see the page until the complete JavaScript is loaded and parsed, and that would literally drive many people away from the particular website. So we don't want that to happen. So what we will do is we will bring in the JavaScript later on towards the end of the body. So that's a very important technical detail that you should follow. Now I'm going to start the body with the main tag. Then I'm going to have a container. And then inside the container, I'm going to have another container. It's a display board. I'm going to create a display board inside this container. And then if you want, you can just state h2, some statement or some information you can give. Say, I want to state, say, h2 class, say, text1, and then read or reviews, right? And then we will have to have a paragraph, and I'm going to say text2, and then I'm going to give a slight introduction. Read what our clients got to say about us, right? So that is fine. The next important part is the comment, right? So I'm going to say div class is equal to comment. This is a div tag, right? And inside this, I'm going to create a paragraph with ID being equal to info. And this would give us the information of the person, what the person wants to state. So I'm going to say just simply like this: happy to have known about this JS training, right? Something like that. And I will actually change this in JavaScript using this ID tag. And that is all I want to place under comment. Now I want to open one more div. In this div, I want to create the profile of the person. And inside this, I want to give the image. Now I'm going to create the image folder, right? So I will show you how to do that within a minute. So I'm going to give some image which I already know. So the ID is going to be person-image. This is the ID, and I'm going to give the source images/1.jpg. Okay. So this is given, and below that I want to give the name of the person or the position of the person. Probably I'll start with the name of the person. So I'll say ID is, I give a ID as author, and I will start with, say, Emily Chang. The person is a director. So a paragraph tag and ID being equal to job. So this will be the job that will be actually directed or controlled using the JavaScript. So you can give any job profile. Say I will say personnel manager, right? So this is the basic thing that would actually go into the HTML. Now there are other two things that we need to do. See, in this case, if you had to see, there is a previous and the next button. We will have to bring that also. So what I will do, I will have to come out of this div. I don't want to place the buttons inside the div, so I will come out of that div, and then I will say button class is equal to previous button, and then I will say previous. Probably I'll copy this and then I'll paste it. This will be next. So this is the basic foundation, or I would say basic construction of this project. So I have saved it. Now let's go over here. So I'm going to open this in Google. You see that this is what we have now. Reviews, read what our clients got to say about us. Happy to have known about this JS training, and there aren't any images, and the individual's name is Emily, and personal manager, and previous and next. So this is the bare minimal that HTML can produce. Now what we got to do is we have to go back. I want to get the images. So what I want to do is I've already loaded some images here. So I just wanted to copy this up, go back to the project folder and paste this. Now if you were to open this, I've got all the images that I need. So I would be utilizing these images. So go back over here, and now you open the HTML. See, you get the image. So this is how the image looks apparently, and we will have to do the designing. As I mentioned to you, without CSS, it's not possible for us to have the output that I have shown you. You see that with CSS, we were able to bring this elegance to the output. So that's exactly how I'm going to achieve it, and we will do that in stages. So this is for the basic HTML. Now we need to go to the CSS. I've got the CSS here. You can clearly see this is the CSS file. So I will have to work on the CSS. This can literally be a little bit lengthier, right? Because we will have to set things up bit by bit. So have some patience, as I already mentioned to you. Okay, so first, the foremost thing we need to do is to reset the margin. So it's going to be margin 0px, and I give the padding as 0px. And then I come back here. I start with the body. Okay, so this is the bare minimal CSS I'm actually performing here, right? Color is 464 C70. This is the color I'm giving, and if you want, you can give a font size. Okay, so that would be taken for the entire body. Font size is 20px. And next I need to target the container. So container height is 100 VH, viewport height. I want the display to be in flex, and the flex direction I am giving here to be as column, and justify content center, align items center, and the color, it depends on what color you need, right? So I'm going to give this color EBEBBE. Let's see. So this is the basic thing, and let me go and check it out. So this is what I've got. So already you can see that now it looks a little bit better, right? So reviews, everything have come to the center, but we need to do some more aligning. So let's go back, and we will have to focus on the board, right? So that's a class that has been given, right? If you can clearly go to the HTML and see, I've given a board here. So you see that this is a div, and inside the div you got text1, text2, and so on and so forth. Let's go to board, and let me just target the board now. Max width. Okay, you can align the width. I'm going to give 900 px. So the width is 100%. I want to give this background color channel, say 151C35. This is a unique color. If I were to give that, let's see how it takes. Okay, so you can clearly see this is how we have got the things going. So we need to really push these things inside. So how are we going to do that? We will start with text align center, then border. You want to give a border radius of 10 px and padding 4 em. So this, let's see how this shapes up. So now it looks a little bit different, right? So it looks much more elegant, and of course there are still stages to go through. Now text color, if you can clearly see, I have given two classes here for text, class 1, text 1, text 2. So you can change that. So text 1, I'm going to give this color channel, probably I will make it a little bit lighter, so 829 will be fine. 829.7E2. Right, so this is for both the text 1, text 2. So you place a comma and write text 2 with a dot, of course, otherwise, because we are dealing with class. So now this color would change, right? You see that there's a change in color. Reviews, read what our clients got to say. In fact, we can have some little bit S there. Read what our clients got to say. That looks much better. As I've always mentioned to you, with regard to CSS, the sky is the limit. Now next, I'm going to target this div, comment. I need to target that comment, right? So I start with comment, and then I say display flux, and flex direction is column, and align item center. So let's see how this shapes up. Okay, so this is for bringing them to the center. Okay, so now we can target the info, right? If you were to go to the HTML page, I've got a paragraph, happy to know. This is the comment from the client. Of course, this is static, right? There wouldn't be any dynamic update in this, but we just place it just to have a feel of it. So since it's an ID tag, I'm going to start with info. I'm going to say position related, and then background. Background color, I'm going to give the same color, and then font size. Font size is 19 or probably 15 px. The color, this will alter the color of the font, and the margin, I want to give a margin of 1.3 em and 0. So what happens to that? So you see that they are both getting stuck together. So now you can clearly see it's come down, right? You see that there is a spacing there. We can extend the width a bit. So I'm going to say width, say 50%, and let's check how that works out. Okay, so now you got a spacious width, and I want to little bit curl them up. So you can border radius of 10 px and padding of 10 px and 10 px. So this will make it a little bit spacious. So let me go back. This is how it looks. So if I were to refresh it, you see that now it looks more elegant. And we need to set up those buttons and the image, because the image isn't looking good. So we need to set the image. Now let me see what else other thing we got. So we got another div. Inside this main div, we got the image as well as the name and the position of the individual. So we will have to focus on that. So it's a class there, right? Let me check that out. It's a class, so the div class is there. So I'm going up over here and I'm going to say display flex direction is column, align items center, and then margin top is 1 EM. So let's see how this shapes up. Okay, that looks all right because there has been a spacing there. So now I need to target the image. You see that this ID have to be targeted. So I'm moving over here. So person image, I'll give a width of 30% and border radius. This will give a border around that image. So border radius is 50%. And then border 5px. I want some coloring around that, so I'm giving solid. And then I will say 8297E2. So this will be a beautiful color. And I want to push the image down. Margin top 1 EM. So I save it. You can see how the image will change. So now you can see this looks more elegant, but it's not dynamically updating, right? There wouldn't be any activity here. That is when things looks more powerful. So I will change all that. So let's do that. So now I need to target the buttons. Now if you can clearly see that the buttons are not really attractive. So let us go over here and take this class and place the button. I'm going to say background color transparent and a border of 2px. I'm going to give 464C70 and color. This would be the font color, right? 829. Okay, and I want to give some spacing. So margin top. Now there are two buttons there. One is for previous, others for next. So our CSS would change, right? So this is 1 EM. I want to give a width of 90px and a height of 30px. Margin right is 2.5 EM. So if I were to go and check it out, so clearly you can see this looks elegant, very much elegant. And I need to do the same thing. Now I can't copy this and paste it as such without making any changes, right? But I am pasting it, but I need to make slight change. If not let me just show you how it looks. Look, you see the way it looks. It's already gone off the focus. So I don't want that to happen. So instead of saying margin right, I give margin left. You see that just one small change that will have a huge impact. And one small change is going to literally, you see that now it's far more better, previous and next. So more amount of elegancy is brought into play. So now the all important JavaScript comes into play. Now, of course, we have designed the CSS, and as I mentioned to you, without CSS, the entire application wouldn't look the way it has to look. So now we need to go to JavaScript. Now in JavaScript, if you would have seen it, I have given a lot of information. So this was the previous project which I've showed for demonstration. I just said next, see, all these things are changing, right? Everybody have got a content being placed. Now what we need to do, our next and previous have to be activated and the data have to be stored in JavaScript. Now we will store the information locally. It means we will have all of the customer's information. Now why this is better, right? Of course there is other way where we can pull in content externally. For that we need Ajax. I will make a tutorial on Ajax later on after I've completed the projects on JavaScript at beginner's level. Then we'll move on to Ajax. Now coming back to the point. Now why locally placing the data is better in these cases? See, most of the times your client's informations are very critical, and it is always better that you have a control of those informations, because if you are going to host these information using third party, there is a probability, I'm not saying it's going to happen, there is a probability of data breach taking place, right? So in this project we are going to house the data, all of the data of the clients locally. Locally means we will hosting through our server, and we can protect this. So that's the idea for that. Now foremost, to get it started, we need to create an array. So let me just create the array, reviews, and we always create the array using a square parenthesis. Now you need to put in the information. We start with ID 1, this is the first data element, place a comma, and we need the name of the person. So I'm going to call name as author name, and I know the client. So the first client, I'm just going to give the name which I've given, Emily Chang, and then place a comma, job, I have said personnel manager. Okay, you need to manually enter the data. And image, the image is housed in the images folder, and number 1 is the name of the image, JPG. Okay, that's the extension, and the information or the feedback that the individual has given, right? So that has to be stated here. So I'm just going to state that it is because of JavaScript I got that pay hike. And we come to the next data item, we place a comma here. Now what I'm going to do, I want to copy this off and I want to paste this. Second time I will change it to 2, and this one I will say Charlotte, and say team manager image. So this course has been a lifesaver. I'll copy this again, ID 3, I will say James Young, and research scholar, image 3. Oh, the third image is, I got to change Eunice. I want to know where is James coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5. See, Eunice Young, research scholar, the course. So some information, because of this course I got A grade in my thesis. So just copy this one more time. So this is going to be 0. So we will start our count from 0. I will explain to you when we come there. So this is going to be ID 4. Freelancer. Now I have a business on my own. And thanks for the course. Then you copy it again. The more data we have, the more better feel we will get about the project. So that's the reason I am trying to. So James Young. Model agency. Okay, so that's all about it. So we can now get the other things started. So now we need to do some hard coding, right? Place a semicolon there. Now what are the things we have got? Go back to the HTML and look for the IDs. You got job, you got author, you got to capture this, and you got to capture this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Author, job, person, image, and info. 4 of these things you got to capture using JS. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll start here var info. I want the information to be placed first, right? So I'm capturing the information. So info is equal to document dot get element. I'm going to use this one, get element by ID. So I'm capturing the tag. That's fine. Now what I'll do, I'll just copy this up. I'll copy this up and paste it 1, 2, 3 times. And after info, I need to get the image. So I'm just going to create a variable name for that. And this is going to be, this is exactly what we had given in the HTML. Let me show that to you. See, this is exactly what we have given, right? So I'm capturing this tag using JavaScript. And then after that, we need to know the position, or I should say the name of the author, right? I'm giving a variable name as author. It's the person who's writing about this experience. And since we have given the person's ID as author, I would be utilizing it. So I go up over here and I say author, that's fine. Then the position, what the person is, the job, right? The job profile is also important. So job, and then I'm going over here, get element by ID, change the job. You can clearly see the job is presented here as an ID. So go there and change that job, right? So that's fine. Now we need to capture the buttons also. So I'm going to say var previous btn is equal to document.query selector. This is important action, query selector. So previous -btn, or I should say, what did we give there? We have given the button. Okay, all right, we need to give button. And probably you can copy this. In fact, I have given per, I want to match it up. So that's better because it helps us keep track of things. So in this case, I will change it to next, and this is going to be next. Fine, it's almost there. And now I need to initialize a variable. I'm going to say current review is equal to 0. So that's initialization is very important. Now I'm going to teach you a very important event. It's called as DOM content loaded. Now the moment you open the page, this event would get fired. So it's an add event listener. So how do we use this? This is how we use this. See, window add event listener, and the name of the event has to be included. So it's actually DOM content loaded. Okay, that's a spelling. And we need to place in the function, right? The function has to be fire. And we open, just to show you that it really works, use console.log. Let's get it started. Okay, so that's about it. Now place a semicolon so we can save this. Now I'm going to show you how to connect the external JavaScript to the HTML file. So as I mentioned to you, we can't include it inside the main. It will be problematic for us. So I'm going to link it over here. Script src is equal to, I've created a folder called JS. Inside the folder, I've got app.js, and you close the tag. So the linking has already taken place. So now you go up here. This is the old, the new project which we are dealing with. So it's called customer review. So what happens here? Right click and you view the source. Now, when you go to the source, you click on console. When you click on console, you see that? Let's get it started. That's coming. So that means our script is working. It's linked correctly. That's the understanding we're getting. Number two, this is how the DOM content loader actually works. It's a add event listener, right? And the name of the event is DOM content loaded. So having got that, I think we can close it off and then go back to our code. Now we don't need this line of code. This is basically to get it tested, right? We don't need this actually. So now we are basically trying to get the target using the, or I should say, get the page activated using the buttons. So for that, we need to write a function externally and call it using this window add listener. Now, let's do that. Let me show you how it is done. So let me just activate a function or write the code for the function. So I'm going to say function. I'm going to give it as next review, right? Just like all the time we were writing function, just start the function like this. Now I'm going to declare a variable. So variable item is equal to reviews of current review. Now what is the meaning of this? I'm creating a variable, and into the variable I am taking in the value for the reviews as 0. So you can clearly see I've initialized this. Go over here. This is the variable which we have declared, reviews. So the value 0 means the first data element that we have actually entered here. That would be considered. Of course, the ID is 1, 2, 3. This is for our understanding. This has got nothing to do with the values that we are passing in, right? When we say reviews of current review, this value 0 is taken in, and that is housed into this particular variable item. Now we will use this to get the content displayed. So let me just show that to you. So I'm going to say person. This is the variable which we have created. Person image is a variable which we have created, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to say src is equal to item. Using this item, I am going to get the image. So when I say img, I'm using img. So what exactly happens when I say img? The information which is received here, reviews of 0, current review is 0, that value is taken under the variable item. Now when I use this to call the image, I'm actually calling the image that is present here, right? This person's image is going to come. Now if in case, just to show you the difference, I'm going to call the second person's image. So that is done. How is that done? That is done by taking current review to be equal to 1, and it is getting stored in this variable, and using this variable I'm going to call the second person's image, because current review is equal to 1. And what am I doing here? I'm taking that image and I am actually displaying it using the DOM functionality. That's exactly what I'm doing. This one will have to be called, right? I'll have to go and call this function here. So let's go here, refresh it. You see that the image has come. You follow me? So let me go back again, and I change it to 2, and I save it. Go back and I refresh it. You see that the third person's image is coming. So that's exactly what we are doing. But we don't need only the image, we need everything, right? We need the person's position, the person's comments, the feedback. All of these things have to be created. So we will just do that. So we will have to use the following variables here: author, info, job, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to start with author. We will have to use text content is equal to item dot, you will have to use this element, author dot name. That's how you will get it, author name, right? So let me save it and go and show it to you. So the author name isn't Emily Chang for this individual, right? You see that Eunice Young, this is exactly the person's name. And that's exactly what we wanted. So that's fine, that's working. And we also need to create the job of this individual. So job dot text content is equal to item dot, what did we have here? Job, right? Item dot job. That's fine. And then the feedback from the individual, whatever information. So for that we need to use this variable info. So it's going to be info dot text content is equal to item dot, what did we give? We had given text here, right? So this is what you need to place here, otherwise it wouldn't work. So that's fine. So now if I were to save it and refresh it, there wouldn't be any change with regard to the image and all, but because we have not set any looping in process. But for this person's position is research scholar, name of this person, and this is exactly the comments of this individual, right? But all of these things are not activated. So now it's time for us to set the activation for these buttons, previous and next. So the question is, how are we going to do that? So that's the excuse me, that's the main part, because whenever I click next, I should go to the next image. So that means the count has to be incremented. Whenever I click previous, the count has to be decremented. And not only that, when I reach the last image, I should have a conditional check. Otherwise, the script will give me an error. And script with errors, you cannot host it in the server. That would break the entire website. So you got to be careful when you're using JavaScript. So let me go up here, and I need to perform some activations of the button. So for that, let me just go here and catch this variable, next button. And I click on the next button, and I'm going to invoke the activities using what is called as add event listener. This is a powerful option, or you would say it's a powerful action that allows us to listen to the click, and we need to call a function, right? And when the click event takes place, I need to increment the variable which I've initialized. So that increment has to take place. Now once this increment has taken place, we will have to check if the increment is greater than the data items that we have placed. So that's the check I'm going to do here. So review, I'm going to collect all the data present in the array reviews, and I'm going to get the length and make sure to subtract 1, because we are starting our count in JavaScript with 0. So you have to take that into account. Now if this happens, if the increment exceeds the data, then what you do, you reset the increment variable. Review is equal to 0. This is what you need to do. And then you come out of it and then you call this function. That's exactly what you have to do, right? So when you call this, the function gets directly called here. That would literally change things. So, okay, I don't need to give you a 2, I'll give you a 0. No, actually we have used a class here. I can clearly see this is a button class. So we need to place the period sign there, otherwise it wouldn't work. Now it will work. You see that now it's working, right? So I'm moving. See, you can clearly see when I click next, 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 next. This is the last person, right? James Young. If you remember, I've given this individual's name and model agency. And now I run my own website and it is very profitable. You can clearly see how all of these things are getting exactly displayed the way we want it. And when I say next, we have no more data in the array, but it goes back to the first individual. Now what we need to do is we need to activate the second variable, or I should say the previous button. So in this case, make sure to place the dot, the period sign there, because all of these things are basically IDs, so we didn't have to place any period signs there. But in case of the previous button and next button, they were actually classes which we have incorporated. You can clearly see that, right? Let's move on to the next step, that is to create the previous button. So we need to capture this variable. It's not next, it's previous. So we captured this, we go back here and we create an add event listener. I'm going to copy this up and I'm going to display this. So this is created. Now in this case, for the previous, it's minus minus. You have to decrease the values. And the check is if the current reviews are less than 0. If they are less than 0, then what you have to do, you will have to ensure that you are giving this code. So reviews.length -1. So that means what? It will, instead of going back, it will start from the back, from the last data. So that is fine. Probably you need to place a semicolon here. So that's also critical. I think now the JavaScript is done. We can go and check it up. So let me check the next, fine. Now when I say next, it comes over here. That's fine. It's because of JS I got a pay hike. That's fine. This course has been a lifesaver. Because of this course I got grade A. That's right. Now I have a business on my own. Thanks. Fine. These are the entire data that we have actually stored. Okay, so now let me go to the end and check. Okay, previous, it has to go back. Okay, fine, it's going back, it's going back, it's going back, it's going back. Now this is the first person, so that means the count is already, if I click this, it will become less than 0. So less than 0 means, you see that it gets reset, it goes all the way to the last person. So that's the beauty of this particular application. So thank you everybody. This is the complete code for JS. As I mentioned to you, it's a lovely project. This is the JS code, this is the CSS code, and this is the HTML code. Thank you and enjoy your day.